Sweltering afternoon. We began this season for you way back in August in brilliant sunshine, I remember, at Old Trafford. Manchester United against Arsenal, big match from the top of the First Division. Well, of course, the First Division Championship has been tidied up, and here we are concentrating on who's going to grab the two automatic places to go up from the Second Division. Not only that, of course, who's going to stay in the Second Division. These two crucial games now in the second half. Middlesbrough against Newcastle, 0-0. They have just kicked off there for the second half at Ayresome Park. And here, Bournemouth against Leeds, also 0-0. We began this game 3 minutes late, so we're going to be running maybe 2 or 3 minutes behind that Middlesbrough-Newcastle game. And Sheffield United, remember, appear to be on their way to grabbing an automatic promotion place, leading 4-2 against Leicester at half-time. But ahead of us, 45 really tense minutes, I think, and just before the teams come out, I can run through the two sides for you. Bournemouth, first of all, playing today to retain their status in the Second Division, playing with one or two players carrying injuries as well. They have Jerry Payton, the Republic of Ireland international, in goal, who made a magnificent save to deny the Leeds substitute Carl Shutt. They have in their back four now Kevin Bond, the captain, who's back again after a bit of an absence with an ankle injury. David Coleman, the left back. Peter Shearer, Paul Miller and Gavin Peacock. Sean O'Driscoll, Sean Brooks, Trevor Aylott, George Lawrence and the England international Luther Blissett. The two substitutes, Richard Cadet and Denny Mundy. Now Leeds, very experienced team. Nearly all of these players have played in the First Division before with other clubs. Mervyn Day in goal, Mel Sterland, Jim Beglin, Vinnie Jones, Chris Fairclough, Peter Haddock, Gordon Strachan, who's been absolutely all over the pitch in the first half despite the heat, Chris Kamara, Lee Chapman, Carl Shutt, who came on after 6 minutes for Bobby Davison, who had been doubtful for this game with a knee injury, and Gary Speed, the young 20-year-old. David Batty is the other Leeds United substitute. The referee will be Roger Gifford from Mid Glamorgan, and alongside me here in the main stand at Dean Court, waiting for the two sides to reappear for what should be an exciting second half. Here to tell us about what he thought of the first half is Trevor Brooking.
Well, not surprisingly, it was very tense, wasn't it? I mean, I thought Leeds started the better, and probably Bournemouth, being the home team, were very edgy. And for that first quarter of an hour, Leeds probably looked as if they were always likely to go ahead. And the nearest they got, apart from the Carl Shutt chip, was when they had the best move of the first half, really. When in fact it was from one end to the other, resulted in a far post cross for Lee Chapman to sort of nod across goal, and really Carl Shutt, 6 yards out, seemingly the whole goal to aim at, and really Jerry Payton just took a chance and spread himself, and the shot just hit him and rebounded high over the bar for a corner kick. But after that, Bournemouth came back and gradually battled. One or two crosses troubled, I thought, Leeds, and in the end it was all nervous stuff in the penalty areas.
Well, the teams are just coming out now for the second half. We have a few moments in hand, I think, before the kick-off. It's lovely cricket weather, of course. We're going to go to Christopher Martin Jenkins, our correspondent at the Oval, for news of a momentous double century for an England player, I think.
Yes, quite right, Mike. For a man, I think, who was one of the most unlucky not to get any tour at all last winter, perhaps along with John Morris of Derbyshire, Neil Fairbrother, and he's just reached his maiden first-class double 100. 207 not out. It's been a beautiful innings. No mistakes at all, really. 32 fours and a 6, and he got to 200 off 188 balls. And at the other end, Michael Etherton has also scored his highest first-class score, an England player, again, of the very near future, I'm sure. 179 not out. They're 528 for 2 in reply to 707. It's an extraordinary cricket match.
And a good job it's a 4-day game too, I think. Thank you very much indeed, Christopher Martin Jenkins, in the sunshine at the Oval here in Bournemouth. We just wait for the referee now to reappear for the second half. You'll have known, of course, if you've been listening to our news bulletins, that the background to this game, the build-up of the last 24 hours, has been an unpleasant one here in the Seaside Tyne. A lot of disturbances last night and also this morning. Thankfully, as often happens, peace and quiet in the ground here. We know there are lots of Leeds fans possibly listening to us outside, unable to get in because they haven't got the tickets. Well, we are about to describe for you a really important 45 minutes now for your club, aiming to get back in the First Division for the first time since 1982. And Leeds to start the second half, all in yellow, playing from right to left. All their supporters are away to the right, behind Mervyn Day's goal, the end they call the Brighton Beach end, very appropriately too in this sunshine. And Leeds start the second half. Jim Beglin, the former Liverpool player, a long ball towards the Bournemouth penalty area. Bournemouth are all in red. They can't clear, though, because of good work just down below on the Leeds left by Gary Speed. And so Bournemouth are immediately pressed back. So we're running well behind that Middlesbrough-Newcastle game, perhaps something like 5 minutes even, as Bournemouth throw, trying to cross the halfway line for the first time in the second half, but denied as Leeds come out strongly in these opening minutes. Vinnie Jones with a header finds the substitute Carl Schutt. Schutt asks Speed to do a lot of running, and Speed did really well to get the cross in there under the circumstances with 2 defenders around him, but it was neatly gathered in at the near post by the Republic of Ireland international goalkeeper Jerry Payton. It's back inside the Bournemouth half. Lee Chapman for Schutt. Schutt looking to try and make some space for himself. Carries the ball towards the right-hand side. Then Gordon Strachan immediately brings it back left. And then a wayward ball by Vinnie Jones up towards the edge of the Bournemouth penalty area is cleared, but not very far. It's coming back inside Bournemouth territory again, just down below us on this right-hand side. O'Driscoll, that's a bad ball, straight to Jones. And Jones very hastily forward. Didn't give Schutt any chance at all. And it runs through to Payton in goal.
Well, that little spell just summed up, the nervousness of all the players, really. In fact, both sides gave the ball to each other on 2 occasions, and in one pass they've given it back to the opposition. It really is just needs somebody just to have that confidence to put their foot on the ball.
Keeping you in touch with everything, another important second division game. Andy Kennedy has just given Blackburn a 1-0 lead against Brighton at Ewood Park, and Blackburn Rovers now pretty confident of reaching the playoffs for the 3rd year running. Leeds United don't want to do that, and let's face it, they've been on top since before Christmas of the second division. At one stage they were 10 points clear. That would be a disappointment, but if Newcastle get a goal at Middlesbrough, it's going to be tight. It's 0-0 here between Bournemouth and Leeds United, and the action is just down below in the sunshine. And a lovely little turn away from Speed there. Speed's cross, it's not headed away yet by Bond. O'Driscoll gets in a bit of a mess. Kamara picks up the loose ball inside the penalty area. Can Jim Bagelin square this? He does do, and it comes off the post from Kevin Bond. The Bournemouth captain was half an inch away from putting that inside his own goal. It came off the post. Bizarre stuff indeed. And Leeds United are denied for the 4th time really in this game. That's the closest they've been so far. As the cross came in, Kevin Bond somehow avoids conceding the own goal, and the ball is with Jerry Payton.
Well, quite amazing, wasn't it? I mean, it's a low drive across the face of the goal, Jim Begley. Kevin Bond there, just back after 7 games with a fractured ankle, and trying to clear, sliced it, hit the inside of the post, went back to him, and he scrambled it away. And the nerves are beginning to get shredded, I think, in both camps. That was an amazing escape.
Well, we were telling you about Blackburn taking the lead a few moments ago against Brighton. Well, now Brighton have equalised through Kevin Bremner. Blackburn 1, Brighton 1, and here Leeds United, 15 yards from the halfway line inside their own half, have a long free kick taken by Sterling, headed on by Chapman. Bournemouth, all in red, have got plenty of players back behind the ball, but Chris Fairclough, who'd gone forward for that free kick, picks up possession for Leeds. Kamara's cross, looking for Chapman. Goal by Lee Chapman from close range. Lee Chapman with a header. The ball billows into the back of the net. And could Lee Chapman have scored the goal to take Leeds United back into the First Division? Lee Chapman himself is no stranger to First Division football. He's a comparative newcomer, of course, to Howard Wilkinson's team. But the manager, number 15, I notice on his back, is down there gesturing congratulations to Lee Chapman. What an important goal that might be. Bournemouth 0, Leeds United 1. The much-travelled Lee Chapman has scored.
Well, it was a fine header, and really the first half, Lee started off pressed for the first 10 minutes, and really since the restart, they've been pushing Bournemouth back into their penalty area. Good cross from Chris Kamara, and there was Lee Chapman, 7 or 8 yards out, a fine header into the roof of the net.
Well, just moments before that, Leeds had been denied when Kevin Bond, the Bournemouth captain, was a whisker away from putting the ball in the back of his own net. But Leeds didn't get their heads down. They came back, and Chris Kamara crossing from the right. And all those thousands of Leeds fans outside the ground will be doing a jig around Kings Park, I would think now. They lead by 1-0. As for the fans inside the ground, well, they're making a bit of a song and dance about it as well. On the open end, jumping up and down. I'm sure that scoreline will have filtered its way through to the northeast, where Middlesbrough are drawing 0-0 with Newcastle. And, of course, the position there now is that if Middlesbrough were to draw that game 0-0 with Newcastle, they would survive, I reckon, at the bottom of Division 2, and Bournemouth, if they lose this game, would go down on goal difference. 6 minutes gone in the second half. Leeds United lead by 1-0, and let it be said, fully deserved to have that lead. Bournemouth, for all their build-up, have not really yet tested Mervyn Day in that Leeds goal. Free kick is taken by Haddock, just short of the halfway line. Chapman jumping again on the edge of the area. Half cleared by Bournemouth. They can't get out of their half. Brooks punts the ball into the centre circle, where Blissett turns around from Haddock, and then he's manhandled by Haddock, and the linesman flags for a free kick for Bournemouth. No, he doesn't. He's flagged it the other way. He's penalised Blissett for turning Haddock. Well, free kick to Leeds. Trevor Brooke.
I think the first foul was Luther was sort of backing into Haddock there as he turned him round, and the linesman flagged immediately. And then Haddock, realising Blissett could be away, hauled him back, and so there was 2 fouls, but the first one was certainly in the right direction, and that's why Leeds have got the free kick there.
Well, we have other scores coming in for you in just a few moments. As following the free kick, Carl Shutt of Leeds United is offside, and we have trouble breaking out at the moment in that little stand over on the far side, with 1 or 2 supporters having to vault over the fence there to safety as the police come in. Segregation has been a problem here, I think, with 1 or 2 supporters trying to buy tickets from this part of the world, and immediately the police come in and take a couple of, well, I won't call them supporters, human beings, I think I'll say, away from that end. They can't possibly be supporters if they're fighting. They're not doing their team's cause any good at all here in the second half at Dean Court. We're back in business again, and those latest scores coming in from Division 3. Bury 2, Cardiff 0. Bad news for Cardiff, looking to try and stay in Division 3. Division 4, Maidstone 4, Carlisle 1. Here Leeds lead, and Chapman gives it away in midfield. Bournemouth trying to show plenty of spirit again, and George Lawrence, almost an excellent ball that over the top for Blissett. The Leeds United defenders were there, and Mel Sterling plays the ball wide down the far side to Chris Kamara. A really good build-up here by Leeds United. Kamara into the penalty area, a chance for Jones to turn, and the shot comes in, and it's just wide.
Well, that was a great opportunity, because Bournemouth just gave the ball away, and suddenly Leeds had 3 against 2. Chris Kamara held it up very well, find himself wide on the right again, crossed to just inside the penalty area. Vinnie Jones had a lot of time, but his first touch let him down. It bounced 3 or 4 yards away, otherwise it could well have been 2-0.
Again, it's Blissett tangling with Haddock, and this time Blissett's won the free kick, and he plays it for George Lawrence, and George Lawrence is trying to get a shot, and it's deflected. It might come to Peacock. No, somehow Leeds scramble it away. We have rugby news coming in for you in just a few moments' time. Here Leeds are trying to hold on to their 1-0 lead and perhaps make it absolutely certain as Lee Chapman, the goal scorer, gallops across to the far side of the field. The Leeds United right, he's being covered by Kevin Bond. Does well though, Chapman. Keeps possession and then plays a short ball for Strachan. And they're still disputing possession over on the far side. Eventually now the ball is out of play. Now in that Rugby Union Pilkington Cup final, it's Bath 32, Gloucester 6, where John Gadd has been sent off in the final. John Gadd sent off, it's Bath 32, Gloucester 6. Here we have a Vinnie Jones throw-in. Hurled in from the far side. Looking for Chapman, headed on by Chapman. Shutt chases towards the near side. It's still inside the Bournemouth penalty area. Jim Beglin piles into the action now on the left-hand side as Leeds pour forward. And Beglin is outnumbered eventually by... Well, no, George Lawrence has given it back to Beglin. And Beglin, who laid on the goal for Lee Chapman, almost squirts that one through for Gary Speed. It's still inside the Bournemouth penalty area. And now they do get some distance with a cross. But again, Leeds pressing back again. Luther Blissett. Back to Coleman. Blissett on the charge over on the far side. That is the Bournemouth left, but it's out of play. Tyrrell, I understand, has now been confirmed as the winner of the 2,000 guineas, the second of the summer's classics. The positions remain unaltered after the steward's inquiry. That's the latest racing news from Newmarket. And here at Dean Court, with 10 minutes gone in the second half, a last league Saturday of the season. Leeds United are 1 in front against Bournemouth, playing here for the Second Division Championship. Bournemouth looking to try and remain in Division 2. Elsewhere, Leicester 2, Sheffield United 4. That was the half-time score, and it's still the latest score there. Middlesbrough 0, Newcastle 0. Sunderland 1, Oldham 1. Stoke 1, Swindon 1. Blackburn 1, Brighton 1. Sheffield Wednesday 0, Forest 1 in the First Division, and Luton are drawing 2-2 at Derby. So at the moment, if it stays like that, Luton would go down. even though Sheffield Wednesday are one behind. And under an important non-league game, they're Welling 0, Darlington 0, and if that stays like that, then Darlington will be in the 4th division next season. Well, now I have a scoreline coming in, which ought to have them jumping up and down at the Leeds end. Middlesbrough 1, Newcastle 0 is the latest score at Edson Park. Bernie Slavin has scored, and there go the flags. And the banners wave, but hold on, because Luther Blissett's bearing down on the Leeds penalty area. A yard outside the area, he's brought down by Mel Sterland. And that's going to be a free kick to Bournemouth. Well, that would be horrendous news for Bournemouth, of course, because that would confirm that Middlesbrough would stay in the 2nd division if it stays like that. But Newcastle would have to settle for a place in the playoffs. 3rd place Newcastle. Bernie Slavin has just scored there, and they're about halfway, maybe approaching in the second half in that game, perhaps not quite halfway. Here we played 12 minutes of the second half, and it's going to be a free kick to Bournemouth on the edge of the Leeds penalty area. All the yellow shirts are back behind the ball. Our referee wants them back another yard or so. George Lawrence is there, so too is Sean Brooks, one of the Bournemouth midfield players. The free kick is curled into that Leeds United wall, comes back to Brooks. Leeds United hack it away to safety, and Carl Schutz on a break over on the far side, but can't find little Strachan. Strachan, who hasn't really got into this game yet in the second half, and Howard Wilkinson's off his stool down there, really clearly foul Blissett, close to the corner flag over on the far side, and that I'm sure will be a caution. Kevin Bond was booked for similar sort of offence in the first half when the man got clear of him, and the referee showing absolute consistency there, Roger Gifford, brings out the pencil and the notebook and the yellow card this time, and Peter Haddock has been booked. So Bournemouth have a free kick, and this is about 5 or 6 yards outside the penalty area and 2 or 3 yards in from the far touchline, close to the corner flag. And Sean Brooks, the son of the former Spurs player Johnny Brooks, the man to take it, but first of all he's going to wait for Luther Blissett to tie up his bootlaces. Important that he gets into that penalty area now, and Brooks with a high cross. Mervyn Day, a brilliant fist away. Shot comes in though well from Shearer. It's charged down by Leeds, and there's a Leeds player actually poleaxed on the edge of the penalty area. I think it might be Jim Beglin who's been winded by that, but the game continues as Leeds are desperate to get the physiotherapist on. Peter Haddock, once he's sorted himself out, might play the ball into touch, but no, Leeds come forward. They're putting together a good move. Kamara finds Speed on the left-hand side. Speed is taking on O'Driscoll, the right fullback. Speed now going to try and win a corner kick perhaps, and eventually the ball is out of play. And while I was watching the action away to the left here, inside the penalty area, the physiotherapist has come on now to look at Jim Beglin, and Chris Fairclough and Mel Sterland are looking at little distress standing over Beglin. Howard Wilkinson, the manager, is out there too. Trevor, what can you glean from that?
Well, I think the urgency that they've termed him over, you know, we've had 1 or 2 incidents where players have swallowed the tongue, and I think that's what they're trying to do, and the first aid men are running on, and it was such a hard shot that he's obviously sort of fallen quite badly, and I would assume that was the problem. Perhaps he was swallowing his tongue, and that's why they've all rushed on, and hopefully now everything's going to be okay.
Well, the player is completely obscured now because players are standing in front of him, and very quickly also the gentleman from the St John's Ambulance Brigade went out there with a stretcher just in case, and the doctor now with a little suitcase has gone out there too, all in white. And I think, Trevor, possibly you have absolutely read that situation accurately for us. Let's hope that Jim Beglin is okay. A man who was a member of Liverpool's double-winning team only 4 years ago, then broke his leg and was out of the game for such a long time, and indeed it eventually cost him his place at Liverpool. And judging by the reaction of Howard Wilkinson and the Leeds players down there, as Jim Beglin gets to his knees, he's going to be okay, stunned by that shot, and we don't need the St John's Ambulance Brigade. And let me tell you now that the latest score from Hillsborough is Sheffield Wednesday 1, Nottingham Forest 2. Stuart Pearce has scored a second goal for Nottingham Forest. It's Derby 2, Luton 2. So even though Wednesday trail there, if Derby hold Luton, Luton will go down. Also in the first division, Everton 2, Aston Villa 1. Tony Cascarino scored for Villa, and Mike Newell a second goal for Everton. And in the fourth division, where Southend will go into Division 3 if they win today, they're leading now 2-1 at Peterborough. That's the latest score there against Mark Lawrence's team. And great to see Jim Beglin carrying on. Just looks a little groggy, not surprisingly as well. and we will restart this game with a bounce of the ball on the halfway line. 16 minutes gone in the second half, and the ball breaks to Gordon Strachan. Strachan with a long ball for Carl Schutt to take over on the far side. Schutt is disputing possession with Kevin Bond. Leeds lead here by Lee Chapman's goal, and we are going to leave Dean Court. We're going to go up to Ayresome Park. Peter Slater.
21 minutes gone of the second half. It looks all over for Newcastle. It's Middlesbrough 2, Newcastle 0. Bernie Slavin scored the first in 59 minutes. He's just made the second for Ian Baird. Burridge tried to smother Slavin's shot. It ran clear, and Baird just under the posts made it Middlesbrough 2, Newcastle 0.
Well, you can't imagine the reaction in this ground when Peter Slater was giving us the news there from Ayresome Park. Everybody tuned into Sport on 2. Middlesbrough 2. Leeds. Now, I should say, of course, that half of the stadium are jubilant here because Leeds so close now to return to the First Division. But desperation for Bournemouth, of course, who must now come back and beat Leeds here. Otherwise, they are going to go back down into the Third Division. Harry Redknapp's team are going to finish third from bottom if it stays like that. Middlesbrough 2, Newcastle United 0. It's looking like Leeds and Sheffield United at the moment for automatic promotion from the Second Division. They lead by 1-0, but we still have a long time to go left in this match. A long kick from Peter Haddock runs straight through to Jerry Payton, and at this moment let us greet all our friends listening to us around the world, possibly the middle of the night where you might be, possibly early in the morning, wherever you are. We have fantastic weather, let me tell you, here in Dorset. We're at Dean Court, the home of Bournemouth, and we have a critical game here in the Second Division. Bournemouth, who must win now to stay in Division 2, are losing 1-0 to Leeds. And if it stays like that, Leeds will be Second Division champions. Elsewhere, Sheffield United are leading 4-2 at Leicester and look like joining Leeds in the First Division. Middlesbrough 2, Newcastle 0 is the other significant score from Ayresome Park, where in the second half, Bernie Slavin and Ian Baird have scored for Middlesbrough. Here in this game, we have a little over 25 minutes left, and Bournemouth desperately trying to get back, who haven't really yet seriously tested Mervyn Day in the Leeds goal away to our right. They have at least a free kick 10 yards inside the Leeds half. And it's taken by Brooks. It's high, looking for Blissett over on the far side, and it runs away from George Lawrence. It's a goal kick to Leeds, and with me this afternoon, as he has been throughout most of the season, is Trevor Brooking.
Well, Ian Baird, of course, who scored one of those Middlesbrough goals, had a spell, didn't he, at Leeds, and he's done them a favour, really, because that has taken the pressure off them. I think, you know, if you look at it impartially through the season, Mike, Leeds and Sheffield United have been up there, haven't they, all season, and probably in the end, the results as they've gone today probably warrant what's gone on during that spell. Probably Newcastle will be disappointed if that's how it ends up. Probably the side you're sympathetic for is Bournemouth, really, because you know, they had a lot of injuries, and here they are 1-0 down, probably seeing the reactions and really needing 2 goals, which is probably asking a lot of a weakened side that they've got out today.
Well, Bournemouth have a free kick, and this is just short of the halfway line. There's time, I think, to tell you that in the First Division, Liverpool, having won the Championship, are really going to town now, leading 5-1 against Coventry, where John Barnes has scored a hat-trick. Ronnie Rosenthal's got another goal. Barnes must be pretty close to catching Lineker now at the top of the First Division goal scorers. Everton 2, Villa 2 is the latest score now at Goodison Park. Gordon Cowans has equalised for Aston Villa. It's Queen's Park Rangers 1, Wimbledon 2, Paul Miller for Wimbledon. And here Paul Miller of Bournemouth takes a long free kick, and Luther Blissett almost creeps in there, but Haddock manages to get it away, and it's a corner kick for Bournemouth over on the far side. Back to Peter Slater at Middlesbrough.
It's now Middlesbrough 2, Newcastle 1. Newcastle pulling a goal back in rather fortuitous circumstances. Kevin Brock was flattened on the edge of the penalty area, took the free kick, and it was headed into his own goal by Owen McGee. It's Middlesbrough 2, Newcastle 1.
The plot thickens, and following the corner, a cross comes in for Bournemouth, and a glancing header from George Lawrence is still inside the area. Kevin Bond turns it back, and it was just out of play, was it? And the referee's given a corner over on this near side for Bournemouth. So Middlesbrough 2, Newcastle 1. The other one that really matters, of course, in the Second Division, Leicester 2, Sheffield United 4. The top 2 clubs at the moment then are in pole position for places in the First Division. It's going to be a corner to Bournemouth, all in red, in the sunshine. And George Lawrence, the former Millwall and Southampton player, is there, but he doesn't take the corner. It's headed away by Chris Kamara, not very far. Blasted in on the volley by Sean Brooks, and that's going to be fielded behind Mervyn Day's goal. by those Leeds supporters in their yellow T-shirts, and those Leeds supporters now under 25 minutes away from a return to the First Division.
And a return, really, if you look at the squad, I mean, they've got some good players there, haven't they? I mean, I'm pleased to see my old West Ham colleague Mervyn Day going to go back into the First Division. Mel Sterling, the right back, Jim Beglin, both pairs are full-backs, a lot of experience there. Chris Fairclough, of course, will want to go back and show Spurs, they allowed him to go, and he's been very important for them this season. Gordon Strachan, Lee Chapman, and the young lad plays wide on the left. I think Gary Speed, the last couple of months, been quite impressed with him, and be good experience for him as well.
Well, if Leeds get back to the First Division, they will be reacquainted with Liverpool, and Liverpool now lead Coventry 6-1 at Highfield Road. A second goal for Ronnie Rosenthal, 3 from John Barnes, 1 from Ian Rush, and another important Second Division score. Sunderland 1, Oldham 2. Andy Ritchie for Oldham. Oldham still pushing for a place in the playoffs. Andy Ritchie then, a second goal for them at Roker Park. Here, Bournemouth being pressed back by Leeds. They're inside their half. Brooks tries to find Blissett in the centre circle. Blissett can't take it, under pressure from Speed. A ferocious 50-50s going on in that centre circle. Eventually, the referee gives Bournemouth a break. They got a free kick. They've taken it quickly, and Lawrence is bearing down on the Leeds penalty area. And the goalkeeper, Mervyn Day, is out with all of his experience. A man, of course, Trevor, you know very well. He played for West Ham in the final in '75.
Yeah, a long time ago now, isn't it? But, he's been delighted, I'm sure, with the season that Leeds and he have had. I've seen him on a few occasions, and he said he's keeping his fingers crossed. They do manage to hold on and get up there, and unless there's 1 or 2 disasters now in these closing minutes, you do feel that he'll be there back with them next season.
The final score in that Rugby Union Cup final, the Pilkington Cup final, Bath 48, Gloucester 6. Bath have trounced Gloucester. That's the highest score, highest margin victory in such a final. And here, Bournemouth are 1 behind. Lee Chapman scoring the goal for Howard Wilkinson's team. Howard Wilkinson hasn't sat down in the second half. He's standing down there. He knows, he's been talking during the week about the importance of a return to the First Division for Leeds United. Out of the First Division for almost the entire 1980s, but now possibly back again. And big games to come next season against the likes of Manchester United and Liverpool and Arsenal, but still a bit of work to do. The ball is out of play down the Bournemouth left, over on the far side, and Bournemouth are going to do something. They're going to make a change. They're going to bring Richard Cadet on, I think, as soon as they can get Gavin Peacock off. So Richard Cadet, former Sheffield United striker, he's on loan to Bournemouth at the moment from Brentford. A forward player comes on to give Harry Redknapp's team a bit of thrust, because of course, as much as we dwell on Leeds here, remember these are important moments too in the future of Bournemouth. AFC Bournemouth looking to stay in the Second Division. They've got a throw over on the far side. They won't stay in the First Division though if in the Second Division if Middlesbrough beat Newcastle. They're leading 2-1 at the moment, and Leeds breaking strongly again over on the far side through the goal scorer Chapman. Chapman chips into the area, headed away by O'Driscoll, and as Bournemouth's Brooks tried to turn around Kamara, he was immediately confronted by a physical challenge, and that's going to be a free kick to the men in cherry red, deep in defence, and Paul Miller works the ball with his right foot to this near side to the former Fulham player Sean O'Driscoll, who's wearing 7 but playing right back. Plays it down the line, looking for Cadet to get into the game for the first time. Cadet tussling with Haddock, and he just does a little bit too much of the physical stuff there, and that's going to be a free kick to Leeds, to be taken by Jim Beglin, who looks to now happily have recovered from that blow 10 minutes ago. Beglin getting a little bit of advice from Mervyn Day, tempted to give it back, and then Richard Cadet closed that door shut, and so Jim Beglin punts the ball forward into the Bournemouth half, headed on strongly by Chapman for Carl Shutt, the substitute. Shutt holds on the edge of the area, gives it back to Vinnie Jones. Vinnie Jones quickly forward into the area. Miller turns it away only as far as Chapman, 25 yards out. The shot from Chapman all along the floor, hits the dust in the 6-yard box, and is gathered by Payson.
The substitution, Cadet gone up front with Aylott, and Sean Brooks has gone into central midfield, and Luther Blissett now patrolling the right-hand side. But really, Harry Redknapp going to play with 4 up, take the game, because they need to score, and obviously they run the risk then of getting caught on the break, but unless they score, they're going to be out of this division, so they've just got to take the chance now.
Aylott, the man that Trevor was talking about with that blue headband, tries to bring Luther Blissett into the game. He didn't find him, but then Blissett with great determination won the ball for Bournemouth, but it's been taken away from him by Jim Beglin. and it's deep inside that Leeds defence at the moment, away to our right on this left-hand side. Certainly Bournemouth are disputing everything in midfield, but Leeds lead by Lee Chapman's goal, as again we leave the south coast and go up to the northeast to Ayresome Park and Peter Slater.
Middlesbrough 3, Newcastle United 1. The third Middlesbrough goal, 75 minutes. A lovely ball from midfield, and Ian Baird, a sweet volley from outside the edge of the penalty area, thundering into the net. Middlesbrough 3, Newcastle 1.
Well, that must surely have settled it. Surely have settled it. Middlesbrough now with 2 goals in front of Newcastle, with about a quarter of an hour perhaps to go in that game. Ian Baird, the former Leeds player, has scored 2 goals. He really has done his stuff for his former club today. Not only